There's a vehicle rolling off production lines in China, right? Now that's causing a very specific kind of silence in boardrooms across Germany, Japan, and Detroit. Not the silence of dismissal. The silence of people recalculating everything they thought they knew about manufacturing economics. The Leapmotor D19 isn't just another electric SUV entering an oversaturated market. It's a full-size luxury vehicle with technology that shouldn't be possible at its price point. And the gap between what it costs and what it offers is wide enough that it's forcing an uncomfortable question. What exactly have we been paying for all these years? Leapmotor isn't a name most people know. It doesn't have the heritage of Mercedes or the cult following of Tesla. It's a 6-year-old company that emerged from China's absolutely chaotic EV manufacturing boom, where dozens of startups appeared, most failed, and a few quietly started building things that made no sense according to traditional automotive logic. The D19 is their statement vehicle, full-size 3 rows, the kind of SUV that's supposed to cost 6 figures if it comes with the technology this one has, except it doesn't. And that price gap isn't a corner-cutting trick. It's something else entirely. The first thing that stands out isn't the exterior design or the interior materials. It's the central integrated electric drive unit. Most automakers are still bolting together separate components: motor here, inverter there, reducer somewhere else because that's how it's always been done, and retooling is expensive. Leapmotor built a system where all of that is unified into a single compact unit. Fewer parts, fewer failure points, radically improved efficiency. It's the kind of integration that legacy manufacturers have on their 5-year roadmaps. Leapmotor made it standard. And they didn't stop there. The D19 uses celt chassis architecture. If you're not familiar with battery engineering, here's what that means. Instead of building a battery pack and then mounting it into the vehicle structure, the battery cells themselves become part of the structural integrity of the chassis. It saves weight, it increases rigidity, it improves safety, and it's insanely difficult to manufacture at scale, which is why most brands talk about it in concept vehicles but don't actually implement it in production cars. Tesla's been working toward it. BMW's testing versions of it. Leapmotor just did it in a full-size SUV as a standard feature. But here's where the story becomes impossible to ignore. The safety testing results. Euro NCAP and CAN CAP put vehicles through collision simulations that are designed to find weaknesses. Frontal impact, side impact, rollover scenarios. The D19 didn't just pass. It achieved scores in structural integrity that are typically reserved for vehicles with completely different cost structures. The cell-to-chassis design means the battery isn't just stored in the floor, it is the floor. When the vehicle absorbs impact energy, it's distributing force through a unified structure instead of trying to protect a separate component. The physics work differently, and the results are measurable. There's a moment in the side pole impact test where you can see what this actually means. A narrow pole strikes the side of the vehicle at speed, concentrating force into the smallest possible area, the exact scenario that's hardest to protect against. The D19's structure doesn't crumple the way traditional body-on-frame or even unibody designs do. The integrated chassis redistributes the energy laterally before it reaches the passenger compartment. It's not theoretical. It's recorded, measured, repeatable. Engineers from other companies have seen the footage. Some of them have gone quiet in a way that says more than any press release ever could. Inside, the D19 doesn't pretend to be something it's not. The materials are high grade, but they're not trying to mimic Italian leather or hand-polished wood. The approach is more honest. Premium synthetic materials that perform better in temperature extremes. Soft-touch surfaces where your hands actually make contact. Ambient lighting. That's functional, not decorative. 3 full rows of seating with actual legroom in the 3rd row, which is rarer than it should be in vehicles that call themselves full-size. The center console integrates a screen system that runs on Leapmotor's proprietary software. Responsive, no lag when switching between navigation and climate controls. It's not flashy, it's just competent in a way that makes you wonder why other systems aren't. The air suspension system adapts in real, not based on pre-programmed settings, but based on actual road data and weight distribution. If you load cargo in the back, it adjusts. If you're cornering on uneven pavement, it compensates. The system uses sensors that feed information to the suspension controller faster than mechanical systems can react. It's the kind of technology you'd expect in a Range Rover or a Mercedes GLS. It's standard here, and it raises the same question that keeps appearing with this vehicle. How? The answer isn't a single trick. It's a completely different manufacturing philosophy. Leapmotor operates in a market where competition is so extreme that inefficiency is fatal. They can't rely on brand heritage to justify margins. They can't coast on reputation. They have to build vehicles that are objectively better at the same price or objectively cheaper at the same quality. So they vertically integrated. They manufacture their own drive units, their own battery management systems, their own software. They don't outsource to supplier networks that add margin at every step. They own the entire chain. And that changes the math. But what happened next changed everything about how this vehicle is being perceived outside of China. Stellantis, the massive automotive conglomerate that owns brands like Jeep, Peugeot, and Fiat, didn't just praise the D19, they entered a partnership with Leapmotor to manufacture and sell these vehicles in Europe. Stellantis has access to every major automaker's engineering data. They know what everyone else is building. And they looked at Leapmotor's technology and decided it was worth betting their European distribution network on. That's not a courtesy. That's a calculated move by people who understand exactly what they're looking at. The range figures are legitimate. Over 700 kilometers on a single charge in real-world conditions, not laboratory optimal. The charging curve stays flat longer than most competitors, meaning you're adding usable range faster during the middle portion of the charging session when most EVs start to taper off. It's a small detail, but it's the kind of small detail that suggests the battery management system is doing something differently at the thermal regulation level, keeping cells in their optimal temperature range for longer, extracting more usable capacity without degrading longevity. And then there's the price. It hasn't been officially announced for all markets yet, but early indicators suggest the D19 will be positioned somewhere between mass market and premium. Not budget, not luxury. Somewhere in the middle with specifications that belong at the top. If that holds, it fundamentally disrupts the value equation that the entire automotive industry has been built on. Luxury brands charge premiums partly for engineering, but largely for exclusivity. If someone else offers the same engineering without the exclusivity tax, what's left? The D19 forces a realization that's uncomfortable for a lot of people who've built careers in this industry. The technology that separates a $50,000 vehicle from a $100,000 vehicle often isn't worth one, it's worth maybe Yiwen Wu 10 Yuan. In actual materials and engineering, the rest is brand positioning, marketing, dealer networks, and the accumulated cost structure of companies that have been operating the same way for decades. Leapmotor doesn't have that legacy cost structure. They built their entire operation in the electric era. And the D19 is what happens when you don't have to carry the weight of a 100-year-old business model. This isn't a story about an underdog beating the giants. It's a story about what becomes visible when someone builds something without the assumptions everyone else takes for granted. The D19 exists because Leapmotor didn't ask how do we compete with luxury SUV. They asked what would a full-size SUV look like if we ignored everything except physics, materials, science, and manufacturing efficiency. And the answer is rolling off production lines right now, forcing every other automaker to explain why their version costs twice as much. The question isn't whether the D19 is a good vehicle. The specs answer that. The question is what it represents. If this level of technology is now accessible at this price point, the entire premise of automotive luxury has shifted. Exclusivity used to mean access to better engineering. Now it might just mean paying more for the same engineering with a different badge. And once that becomes obvious, there's no going back. The corporate response has been telling. Some brands have gone the dismissal route, questioning build quality they haven't tested, reliability they haven't measured, long-term durability they couldn't possibly know about yet. It's a predictable play, but other brands have gone quiet, and that silence is more revealing than any press statement. When your competitors stop talking, it usually means they're back at their facilities running numbers, trying to figure out how much of their cost structure is actually necessary. Leap approach to over-the-air updates is worth understanding because it reflects the same philosophy that shapes the entire vehicle.